care about Laoghaire, and I never have.
Oh, so you would marry a woman you don't even want and then just discard her?
Outlander is a show about love and family. A love that is so powerful that it spans through time and space and draws Claire back in time to where the love of her life, Jamie, is waiting for her. The books by Diana Gabaldon were incredible, and fans love the show even more. It has some of the best characters ever written, and by far, some of the worst. So let's see them. This is Outlander's most loved and hated characters ranked. Major spoilers ahead. Please remember to give us a like if you enjoy this video, and then subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. That way, we can always keep you updated on what we post. Frank Randall, honorable mention. We couldn't quite put Frank in the loved or in the hated side, but he is by far too important to not mention at all. Frank has moments where he is awesome, but some where he is really terrible too, especially later on in the show. But the thing is, Frank was not responsible for any of this. He went on holiday with his wife and then she disappeared. He kept looking for her, but when she returned, it was with a story that was completely unbelievable, mourning for another man and being pregnant. I think it is safe to say the emotion that most of us felt towards Frank was feeling sorry for him. He didn't really deserve any of it. Lord John Grey, loved. One of the few good characters that worked for the British government, Lord John Grey quickly became a fan favorite. He is sensible and he is willing to help others despite what their background is. He genuinely wants to do what is right. He does sometimes end up at the wrong side of disputes, but his actions are also pretty much honorable. He cares about Jamie and helps him out frequently, so obviously fans ended up loving him very quickly. Geillis Duncan, hated. At first, Geillis was a pretty intriguing character. The only other time traveler besides Claire, at least at the time, we believed that there must be some good in her. And it seemed like it when she helped Claire survive. But that was soon overshadowed by just how evil she was later on. Geillis did nothing out of the goodness of her own heart and had many problems that she needed to face. There were moments that you wished she could get help, but overall, she was just terrible. Jenny Fraser Murray, loved. One of the strongest female characters besides Claire, you just have to love Jenny. She is Jamie's sister and always has his back. I know she treated Claire a bit harshly when she came back, but think of things from her side. Claire went away and abandoned them all. She saw how much Jamie suffered and she was hurt by the woman she treated like a sister. It just makes sense that she was a bit ticked off, but overall, a character that is very lovable. Comte St, hated. There were small moments of redemption, but overall, this was a character that would do anything to get what he wanted, including killing Claire, or at least trying to repeatedly. He wasn't on the show for long, but he remains a hated character even now. McKenzie, loved. In the beginning, there were moments when we couldn't stand Brianna, but she is Jamie and Claire's daughter after all. So soon she became a strong woman and a really loved character. She was just looking for answers, and it was super difficult for Claire to give her them. When she finally found out the truth, she was willing to risk everything to save her parents and get to know her father. She is definitely a character that gets more loved over time. Roger McKenzie, hated. This one actually hurts my heart to put on the hated side. Roger in the books was one of my all-time favorite characters, but in the show, Roger lacks depth and some of his bad decisions are just really terrible. He's a bit of a hypocrite and at times treats Brianna terribly. He has gotten a little bit better recently, but is still far from being a loved character. MARSALI Fraser, loved. This one was also really surprising. Fans fully expected to hate MARSALI for the rest of the series. Instead, we all started to really love her. She is the daughter of Laoghaire and thought of Jamie as her father, so those were already two serious strikes against her. When she first met Claire, she treated her terribly. Not surprisingly, really, if you take into account what her mother must have told her about Claire. But once she was out from her mom's influence, she became a really sweet and lovable character. The Duke of Sandringham, hated. He might have been one of the worst characters on the show ever because he acted like he was good and wanted to help. He acted like he was going to help Jamie, but in reality, he did some incredibly despicable things, all to ensure that he would get ahead. There were times that he acted like he was conflicted, but eventually the truth came out and he was just horrible. Fergus Fraser, loved. As the young Parisian boy that Jamie and Claire helped to escape his terrible life, Fergus already climbed deep into fans' hearts. And adult Fergus is just as great. We would just have loved to see more of him on screen, but either way, fans love him. He is loyal and strong and a really great character that fans will always love. Stephen Bonnet, hated. Another character that was really despicable. Stephen Bonnet only served to torment the Fraser clan. He was one of those characters that cast a dark cloud over everyone. He just did so many horrible things that it was hard to know what the worst thing was. He robbed Jamie and Claire and killed many people. Then he assaulted Brianna and eventually eventually came back to kidnap her and try to sell her into slavery. He wasn't around for too long, thankfully, and it was safe to say that fans were pretty relieved when he died. MURTAGH FITZGIBBONS Fraser. Loved. The show seriously toyed with our emotions over MURTAGH. Right from the start, he was one of the most loved characters on the show. He was Jamie's godfather and someone who just genuinely had Jamie and Claire's backs. He wanted Jamie to be happy without any other agenda coming into play. And he was the one that saved Claire when she first arrived in the past. He was truly devoted to the couple and would do anything to keep them happy and safe. We all thought he had died at the Battle of Culloden and was just sort of making peace with that when they showed that he was alive and well. Then just to rip out our hearts again by killing him off a second time. I'm still a little bit bitter about that one. MURTAGH deserved so much better. McKenzie. Hated. So much hate. Now I know there were probably characters that did way worse things than Laoghaire ever did, but she is just one of the worst people ever. When we met her as a young girl with a crush on Jamie, we might actually have felt sorry for her. We all know the pain of first love after all. But very quickly she went from a harmless sad character to a really horrible one. She was the one to send Claire to the witch trial. So she could have been directly responsible for Claire's death, and I'm pretty sure she was just sad that she didn't succeed and not remorseful at all. I still can't understand how Jamie ended up marrying her. She was horrible, and you won't find one fan of the show who liked her. In fact, if you did like her, I'm not sure we could be friends. Claire Fraser. Loved. It is really no surprise that Claire is one of the most loved characters on the show. She is one half of an incredible couple, and she's also one of the best characters on her own. She is a strong woman and became a surgeon to continue helping people in her own time. She is strong and steadfast, always willing to do what is right. Now this has also gotten her and Jamie into some pickles, but she will never back down from helping others. She has faced some massive traumas, but is resilient and will always protect her family, no matter at what cost to herself. Jonathan Randall. Hated. If I could think of a word that is even stronger than hate, then I would describe Black Jack Randall in that way. He was detested by fans with good reason. He had absolutely no redeeming qualities and is probably one of the worst characters that has ever been in any book or screen. His obsession with Jamie was sickening, and the enjoyment he got out of hurting anyone in his way was unbelievable. He didn't just do bad things to help himself. He went out of his way to hurt as many people as possible. He killed because he enjoyed it, and he partook in some of the worst and most violent sexual assaults to ever come on screen. So it was really no surprise that fans looked forward to the day that Jamie could kill him in battle. There was no other way that he would have ever stopped. James McKenzie Fraser. Loved. If Jack Randall was one of the worst characters to ever be written, then Jamie Fraser is probably one of the best. Jamie Fraser is one of the sweetest and most caring men that you will ever get to see, but he is also one of the strongest and most powerful. He respected Claire right from the start, even if there were moments when his upbringing did create some issues. He is a flawed man that makes some pretty big mistakes, but no matter what, he never does anything out of spite. His biggest motivation is always to do the best for the people he loves, and he is willing to sacrifice everything for his family. Some of the best moments in the show are because of Jamie, and the love between Claire and Jamie is legendary. Outlander has some incredibly well-written characters. Some are super evil and some are incredibly great characters too, but they all are very human. Let us know who your favorite and most hated Outlander characters are in the comments. Thanks for watching.